Cloud, and
welcome to Guided, helping you navigate your divine journey. I'm your host, Jodi Reynosa. And if you're new to the channel, welcome, and hit the subscribe button. I invite you to do that. And also the bell at the top right, because then you will be notified of all the latest and greatest interviews, like the one today with Billy Mandarino. Billy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jodi. I'm so honored to be here. I just love what you're about, your heart, your mission, your light. It's just, I'm thankful.
We are already wrapping. Before we hit record, we are already into like the juicy stuff, the spiritual stuff. This is great. And in case you don't know who Billy Mandarino is, he is the Now-Ist, and he has a book out called The Now-Ist. And I've not only kind of delved into a little bit about that, but also his podcasts, which are so beautiful. I was up till the wee hours of the night actually telling Billy about this. One of his podcasts that I was listening to last night was called Relationship. So before we get into all of that though, I just want to say, Billy, thank you for your work. Thank you for what you are emanating out to the world. It's so needed at this time. And as far as the Now-Ist, tell us a little bit about that. And, you know, I know your story kind of started back in high school.
It did. Yeah. I was talking to you earlier before we recorded that I didn't have the traditional path. I didn't go to college. I'm from 6 kids, a multiple divorce family. I love my mom and dad, but they just weren't meant to be together. And the challenges of going through multiple divorces, going through the big divorce where the kids were separated. 3 went with mom, 3 went with dad. And we literally had to sit on the stand and pick which one we wanted to live with. It was really tough back. This is like in the 70s. So they don't do that anymore. But I remember just like the trauma and the trials, and then living in that past, as a kid, and living in the heartache and the past, the separation and the disillusionment of a family. And I just remember living consistently in my past and always feeling stress and anxiety and worry and overwhelm. And then literally, I remember breaking out with cold sores on my lips because I would be upset from a relationship that was breaking, from a girlfriend that broke my heart. And I always knew it was kind of went back to family, to maybe the love of my mom, or maybe just feeling these deep-seated subconscious patterns that people run. And they were showing up on my face as cold sores on my lips. And my dad, I remember, said one day, this girl, sophomore year of high school, just like wrecked me, broke my heart. And dad said, looked at me, and my fever blisters were everywhere. He goes, boy, what are you doing to yourself? And then it hit me. It says, what am I doing? And I remember I left this little conversation with my dad out in the breezeway of where we were living up in Spokane, Washington. I went back to my room and I just sat there and thought, that was so profound. He doesn't even know what he said, but I know what he said. What am I doing to myself? Meaning I'm creating these cold sores through the stress, through the past focus, through the anxiety that, stress doesn't really exist. It's just a thought you're thinking. And
and who else talks about that? The superior man, David Data, talks about that. And you talk about that in your book too.
Yeah, stress is literally destroying our planet. And stress isn't like, I can't fill this cup up with stress and say, okay, let's just study this thing, stress, this physical thing. Let's make a cure. Let's figure out therapies. Let's get out of this stress, this physical thing. Let's make a vaccine for it. But there's no such thing as stress. There's just people thinking stressful thoughts.
And we believe.
And you can just change your thoughts. You change how you think. And that's what my book's about. Realizing that the present moment is the place your power resides. And my father brought that awakening to me my sophomore year. I was 16 years old in high school, thinking, man, I have been giving away my power to stress, to my focus being in this chronological linear time. Like, I'm worried about the past and my heartaches and problems for my family and the challenges. And then I'm struggling to make a future that's better. So when you live in this past future chronological time, that's what stress needs. It needs a past, it needs a future. You need to be someplace you wish you were someplace else. But the key to it, and if you look at my book, the cover of my book, I got a cover right here. The Now-Ist symbol is, here's the back of my book. There's beautiful. So this is actually not a cross. It's not your traditional religious cross. It's a technology. The Now-Ist symbol teaches you, here's the linear time. Let's imagine that's past, future time. Me worried about the girlfriend breaking me up, worrying about this future. Am I ever going to fall in love again? Am I going to live in my past hurts from my family? There's this linear time.
And that's horizontal.
I'm sorry, this linear, horizontal, past, future time.
Yep.
You get to the vertical, there, straight up to God, the infinity, the divine time. Where those two meet, you see this explosion of light. That is
I love it. That's so beautiful.
The crossification, that present moment awareness happens when you get your awareness out of linear thinking into the vertical, into divine time, eternal time. And that is the explosion of light in my book. That's why it's a symbol of technology, because you look at it, it reminds you, wait a minute, NOW spelled backwards is what, Jodi?
One.
Yes, when you're in the now, you've won. You've won your presence back. And that's what I learned at a very young age. And then I didn't create a book till much, much later, or a teaching much, much later, but I kept this incredible, voracious appetite for spiritual teaching. All kinds of, the Bible, tons of spiritual texts that just these teachers. I remember Neville Goddard came into my awareness when I was 15 years old. And then Norman Vincent Peale and all these great, Og Mandino, Napoleon Hill. As a 16-year-old kid, my dad was sending me these books, and this journey started very young. But I didn't know until 2018 when I wrote The Now-Ist and The Now-Ist came out, that small word, N-O-W, when I'm in the now, I've won. That changed my life. And that's when I realized all this work that I've been doing was to get here to the present moment and to teach people how to be Now-Ists, to create a legion of Now-Ists, people that live in present moment awareness, in peace, getting out of stress, living in that vertical crossification, in that vertical time where you can get out of stress and you can take that power and then serve people and just give it away.
I love that. The Now-Ist. Okay, so let's even delve deeper into the symbolism. Okay, so first of all, everybody, we met. So Billy and I met through a mutual friend, a mutual spiritual brother, Stephen McGee, who I've had on the show before. So he's awesome. And I'm so grateful for this connection.
Love Stephen.
So so when we were all in this group email, I pointed out that I have also studied the cross, the vertical and horizontal alpha and omega. And at the point where that's the vertical and horizontal meet at the now point, if you actually break that down into the female and male, the divine masculine and divine feminine energy and the orgasm, actually, the now point where that light explodes, that is basically the God moment as well, that explosion of light. And so that is so symbolic and so powerful. And that is your now moment. It's like everything and nothing all at the same time. And so it's just so beautiful. And I don't know how many people realize that. And so it's like when that orgasm is together, in your relationship as well, it's just so deep. It's a well of depth and power and light, everything. So it's so beautiful when you study this. It's amazing. It's life-changing. So I encourage you to read Billy's book as well, because if you then take that into practical life and you just put that, in your everyday life, it's really going to be such a shift, in your thinking as well. Let me unpack this for you as far as my relationships. Because there was a lot of fear, and there still is at moments. I had a moment, in fact, last night where I had to unpack some things, and I literally started writing stuff down. I'm like, what am I afraid of with this certain connection? And then I thought the image that came to my mind was the hot stove, okay, I've been burned with this hot stove so many times. Okay. So after a while, there's this, it's almost like this scar tissue that builds up. And when the scar tissue builds up, it's almost like a numbing effect. So then you have to start using your other senses. So because you're numb to, or that area is numb to the fire and the heat, you don't know if you're getting close to the fire anymore. And so you almost have to rely on other people or other stimuli, other variables, or looking at the past as far as patterns, the similarities. So at the same time, you don't want to look to your past. You want to stay in the now, but like somebody that might be blind, they're relying on, you know, their auditory strengths and other stimuli. But there's a balance of doing that and not bringing your past into the now. So, you know, there's all of those types of things as well. And there might be a point where somebody feels so damaged that there's impairment. And so it's like, well, okay, so that could be considered almost like a relationship PTSD, you know?
Yes.
Did I lose you there? Okay, there you are.
Yeah.
And so at that point, that's when like it becomes this visceral reaction in the flight or fight. You know, the stress hormone is activated and you essentially freak out, which I've done several times when I feel like this intimacy is becoming too much. And you really start having to, like, you know, break things down, talk to yourself, all of that.
It's the stress response. Yeah. It's
exactly.
It's your fight or flight. Your autonomic nervous system is kicking in.
Right. And so at that point, it's like, okay, I want to be open to God through my consciousness, through, you know, I'm willing to step through that fear, you know, to heal, to feel that divine consciousness, all of that. So what advice do you have for people that have been so wounded? I mean, I'll tell you what actually happened to me. I prayed to God and said, I want to shift this. I need to either have a dream on how to figure this out, because I've done so much inner work with this, so much inner work. And I said, I need to be able to clear this. And I've been able to clear it to a certain point. And it was so cool what happened. I ended up having this dream, and it was about my paternal grandfather. And it was so crazy. He was so domineering and so controlling. And he had my 4-year-old self almost like imprisoned. And I had to take my adult self and like get out of Dodge, basically, you know, get out of prison. And I had to like talk my way out of this imprisonment. So it was like this familial lineage type thing way back that was keeping me imprisoned in this like mindset. And
do you see the lesson in that? Did you get the lesson in that, Jodi?
Totally.
That your child, the child in you is what has been damaged. So you reverted all the way back to that. There's a traumatic amount of energy that hits you at 4 years old.
Totally. It was fragmented. So I was talking to my friend about it this morning, and he's like, so you were spiritually fragmented back then too? And I go, yes. And I had been doing all this child work.
What was happening when you were 4 years old? What happened at 4 years old?
Yeah. So there was a lot of family of origin stuff going on. Lots of family. So I had been doing inner childhood, you know, type work, shadow work type stuff, and clearing a bunch of stuff. So that was almost like the final stage of what needed to happen. So I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know, I was like so grateful.
Your uncle had already passed away, right?
My grandfather.
Grandfather. He had already passed, correct? He's currently passed.
Yes.
So you realize he came to you through the dream to give you the answer that you had sent out to him or to the universe, to God.
Yeah.
It came because it dreams, we got to get that theta, delta, gamma brainwave pattern so they can enter at that state and that energy frequency and then teach you about what your block was.
Right.
Right. And so people, I mean, I'm not a proponent, obviously being a Now-Ist is you don't live in that past. You use it briefly for moments of awareness and reflection. You just don't live there. Because what happens is people have this autonomic nervous system response, like you did, this subconscious programming. You self-sabotage your relationships because you're living in that past, but in the present moment, in that exchange with that person. And you self-sabotage, you get triggered, and you go, what's going on? And then you have a dream like you, because you're open and you're aware, and you say, give me guidance. What is this about? And because you're so open, you have one dream that tells you exactly what this is about. But that same dream, that same problem is going on in billions of people's lives, but they don't have the awareness to do the work, the deep work. It takes the deep, deep work to get, like I did with my childhood issues, with that, how it affect my marriage. My wife and I have been married 26 years. She's my soulmate. We have a gorgeous daughter. And it comes up in life, it comes up in relationships, but I just know I'm getting triggered. I'm having a response like I did in my sophomore year with my girlfriend, who was just making my lips explode, because we have these physical appearances, that these physical scars, right? Sweat, upset stomach, you know, self-sabotaging behaviors, all these feelings that are just literally a replay of your past, but it's dead. It's dead energy. There's nothing for you there. There's nothing for you in the past, right? There's nothing. It's just a trail that's been left behind. It's like the boat.
It's like echoes, like you're talking about. It's almost like this imprinted echo. And I love what you're saying though, Billy. It's like, we don't want to live there. We don't want to bring it to this point, this now. We just want to take a glimpse, learn from it, say, what is that about? And then come back to the now.
Do you know who Brendan Burchard is?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's
so
great.
I was in Brendan's master class when the Now-Ist came out in 2018. I spent a year, traveled, you know, went in this mastermind. It was really great. I met 100 people. We traveled all over the world. And then next year I went all over the world and spoke about my book. I did, you know, keynotes and talks and speak. It was great for a whole year. After being with Brendan, I figured, okay, I went to school with Brendan about how to get my message out there. And I met this wonderful person named Nicole. And Nicole, if you're watching this, I send love out to you. And she was from Australia. And we were at one of these retreats, and I think we were in Cabo or New York or something, Cabo. And we're outside and we're just talking about this same type of stuff. She was talking about how she had a traumatic she was 3 years old. Traumatic event happened to her at 3. And she had a lot of problems with her marriage, with her relationships. And it wasn't until she had kind of a similar experience to you, where she got this like bucket of cold water, like just dumped on her, and symbolically, where she had this awakening to, man, I've been ruining all these relationships and problems with people because I never healed that little girl. And so, you know what she did? And this is one of the biggest things I took away from that time with Brendan in that mastermind. She always has a picture of her 3-year-old self next to her bed. And every morning she gets up, and every morning she goes to bed, she looks up and she goes, you know what? I'm going to do good for you today, little girl.
I love that.
I'm going to do good for you today, which means I'm no longer going to live in this past. I've healed that. I'm going to live from the healed 3-year-old self. So I don't bring that past into my present, into my future, into all areas of your life. But most people never do the deep work. And that's what it takes. It takes Now-Ist presence. It takes present moment awareness with your imagination focused on this compelling future that you have for yourself, but you do it in the present moment. Especially like Nicole was saying, especially before you get out of bed in the morning, especially you go to bed at night, you imagine what it is like, what you want to bring into your life. So you can initiate the law of attraction, so you can live in that end. And in my book, I teach about, I don't believe in setting goals. I say, I believe in thinking from the end instead of about the end. Two different things. From the end is in this moment, it's already done. You see it as completed. It's already completed. All 5 senses are enacted. You feel it, it's just done. About the end is like setting your bathroom mirror goals, which I used to do. Setting goals, hope it happens. When it happens, I'll be satisfied, I'll be fulfilled. But when you think from the end, I go to bed every night and I just feel in the end, all 5 of my senses engaged. And it's done. And then I get up in the morning, same thing before I get to bed. I just live in that end. Then what do you think happens? The universe conspires, the divine matrix, the consciousness all conspires with you to bring that into your life. So it happens quicker. There's no duality. There's no like, I'll be happy when this happens, or there's no, time. There's no linear time. There's just this.
I love that. Yeah. And, that reminds me of the quantum now, because, really everything that you want has already happened. I mean, this is kind of going down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I mean, there is something called Project Looking Glass that, the government already has tech actually, where they can see into the future and into the past. But speaking of the future, they already have seen different timelines that have taken place. They've already seen like, oh, okay, this president's one here in this timeline, this president's one here in this timeline. Okay, so we can have certain things where we see, okay, you know what? We can totally relax because we want that to happen. Okay, that in that timeline, that's already happened. We want this to happen. Okay, that's already happened there. So how do we want this all to unfold?
No, I look at it, Jodi. I look at it, because you and I were both raised in the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're both brought up. I have 6 brothers and sisters. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I'm the oldest of 4.
Oldest of 4. So we come from big families. So we've been
Yeah.
raised in the church, kind of indoctrinated in the church. And I always think back when we have this conversation, I have this conversation with people and we talk about the end and it being done and thinking from the end, not about the end. I think back to Genesis when God created the universe, created the earth, and everything was created. All of creation was done. And he said it was good, right?
Yeah.
So which means every possible scenario you could ever imagine, because I believe our imagination is the greatest gift God has given all of us.
Yep.
Our imagination. So you just have to put your awareness on that thing, on that outcome, on that relationship, the stuff, the things, the emotions, the feelings, the service, on that end. It's already done. And that's why I believe in thinking from the end, because you live in that end. It already exists. It's just a matter of how you vibrate with it and how you live in that end consistently. You have to line up with that vibration so the universe conspires and it brings that to you. It's the law of attraction. It's never broken.
Yeah.
The law of attraction is never broken.
Yeah.
So that's how I've been able to manifest avalanches of abundance in my life, emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially, familially, societally, because I've learned and trained myself as a Now-Ist to live in that end consistently.
Yeah. And now you had an experience, I listened to this on your podcast, where you were golfing, right? And you kind of had this out of body experience and you had a view from a totally different perspective. Share that with us.
So in the Zen tradition, it's called a satori.
Yes.
Or a flash of enlightenment, right? A sudden flash of enlightenment. And I love golf. I mean, golf, people have different opinions about golf, but to me, golf is not a game. To me, golf is if I was going into Tibet, to the Himalayas, I'm going into a cave and I'm a yogi master and I'm just meditating and I'm one with sound of the mountains. They say this, that the Himalayans, they make the sound. There's a chant, there's the earth, they can feel the energy of the earth. That's their practice as a yogi master. You know, in India, they'll sit on their tiger skin rug and they will just sit there for days and just meditate. Well, to me, as a Now-Ist and a spiritual teacher and a spiritual practitioner, golf is that meditation. And it sounds weird, but golf has always been this thing for me because the Bhagavad Gita, you know, which is the famous Hindu text, and the book Bagger Vance and the movie Bagger Vance. Have you ever heard of it with Will Smith and Matt Damon? So it's a movie, but the movie was written about Arjuna and Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, about God teaching this student how to be in oneness, how to live in the world. So the Bagger Vance movie is literally a spiritual text, but people think it's just this great movie with Will Smith and Matt Damon. But if you watch that movie and you read the Bhagavad Gita, they are basically the person that wrote the script used the Bhagavad Gita as his template. So when I think of golf and I think about how the swing chooses you, you don't swing, you don't pick the swing, you don't try to hit the ball. You have to have a oneness with the movement of the club, the oneness with the grass, the earth, the wind, the ground. It's like this meditation. If you can perfect being in the present moment and relaxing into and using your imagination to visualize where this ball is going to go, how it's going to feel when you hit it, how it flies through the air. If you can do this consistently, you know, most people do it about 120 times. My focus is to try and do it about 68 times or 65 times, right? Swing that club that many times, but it becomes a spiritual practice. And before I had this satori, which was on a golf course here in Santa Barbara, I was a very frustrated human being. Blessed to have a beautiful wife and daughter, but financial challenges, relationship challenges, as you know, relationships can kind of overarch everything and the emotions and the pains. So golf became my best friend because I don't have any vices. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't, do anything. I don't have any vices. I maybe eat too much junk food sometimes, but who doesn't?
I know.
But golf became like my best friend, my thing. So this specific day, I was throwing golf clubs. I was a maniac because I expected golf to be that thing. When I played well, I thought, oh, this was like my fix. Like somebody who's addicted to drinking or whatever, this was my fix. And when it wasn't working for me, that's when the clubs were being thrown. And I realized it's like a payoff for me. And it kind of became a weird addiction at the time. But on the 15th hole of this course, I had just thrown my club, and I was ready. I swear to God, this was the last hole I was ever going to play. This best friend of mine betrayed me, right? It became like this arch enemy, like turncoat, Two-Face. This best friend, just like, I'm giving you up. Like I'm just gonna leave. I literally, my thought was, leave the clubs here and just walk off the course and go in your car and leave. That's the thought. I was so frustrated. But what happened is my brain schismed. I thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke because all of a sudden, like my arm started to tingle and I felt like this pain, like And I just started to get like lights and my head started to blink. I felt, and it was just, and all of a sudden my awareness shot from the earth. This has never happened before. Shot from the earth about 3 miles above the earth. And my eyes are open. I'm looking at the golf course, but I'm kind of like a zombie. I'm just like, what's going on? Am I having a heart attack? Nobody was with me either. I was by myself. Am I having a stroke? And I could see like the blue curve of the earth. I could see the black night with the stars being like this pinholes in the curtain of night. And I could just sense my awareness floating effortlessly and weightlessly above the planet. Yet I would learn later that was my highest self. And my lower self was still on the planet. So I could look down from 3 miles and I could see me on the golf course. And there was this conduit, like this tether between me and my high, and it was there. And this, it's timeless, of course. When you're having a Satori, there is no time. I don't know how long it lasted, but it felt like an eternity to me because I was completely comfortable. I wasn't scared. Once I was there, I was like, this joy, this peace, this control of this out of control situation came over me. And then I imagined what it would be like and I instantly thought, whoa, I can do anything. I'm omniscient up here. I'm omnipresent. What if I hit the ball and I was like 74 yards out? If I hit it, it went right in the hole. What if I did that? And so I saw it and I just kind of, then I instantly had this like, boom, like my body just went boom, right back together. And I just kind of, and then I just thought my imagination was still in that place. And so I just relaxed and I picked up the club and I hit the ball in the hole from 74 yards. Just like
That's amazing.
Then I kind of floated off the course. I don't even know if I continued playing any holes. I just was just kind of out of my mind. And I sat in the parking lot for like an hour and just thought, this is not a golf thing. This is a life thing. And that was this beginning. If you read the first chapter of my book, it talks about the Now-Ist symbol and what happened next and how this all led to the Now-Ist teaching. That was about 10 years ago that happened. It all just led to this journey, this spiritual hunger that I was just, they say when the student's ready, the teachers will be revealed. Mm-hmm. All these teachers just started these books, these amazing people just started showing up and teaching me how the present moment and how the now and what I experienced as a Satori was the pillar for the Now-Ist teaching, the pillar for this book that would bring this awareness to the planet through teachings, through seminars, which my seminar is in May, through one-on-one coaching, and through just speaking around the world to people about living as a Now-Ist and out of stress and worry, which has been killing the planet for centuries.
Yeah, yeah. Now, was it that particular instant where you thought my book's going to be called The Now-Ist? This was my Satori moment, or tell me how that all unfolded.
That didn't happen till years later.
Okay.
It was about 2017. Yeah, that only happened a few years ago. That I was literally at the same computer you and I are talking, having the interview through, and my wife, here's our bed. My wife is literally asleep. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm a voracious reader, and I only read spiritual self-help books. I don't read novels. The only novel I read was my buddy's book, which was an amazing novel recently, but I only read books that are deepening my spiritual journey. So I can just continue to like delve into what it really is about. Like if you're focused on like self-help books, I understand that to try and bear yourself, but I'm thinking about how can I existentially help the human condition get out of stress? That's my mission. So I've been doing that for years and years and years. And so and Dr. Wayne Dyer came into our living room when my daughter was about 2-3 years old on PBS, because that's how most people discovered Dr. Wayne Dyer was through PBS. And I remember playing with her and I hear this guy's sagacious voice come on the TV. I didn't know who he was. He had this book out called Excuses Be Gone. And he's done PBS specials, like 10 PBS specials for his books. He's raised like $250 million for public television. He's the king of Mr. Public Television. He did that because he would launch a book and then donate to the program. And he just literally put PBS back on the map. But I hear him speaking. He was speaking about, I've always been a spiritually divine yoked person. I've always had this spiritual hunger that never felt satisfied. But I hear him speaking about these new concepts of source and God is oneness and God is everywhere. And your power of intention is how you create and manifest in your life. And all his style of teaching and his voice is so deep and sagacious. I started listening. So then I ended up getting his book and just started going deep into Dr. Wayne teachings. And then August 30th, 2015, he passed away. He passed away the same day that he forgave his father on his grave in 1974, I think it was. He went to his father's grave to piss on his father's grave.
Wow.
August 30th, 1974. And after he had that active, and he went and he said, no, from this moment, I send you love. He went back to his hotel in Florida and wrote the book, Your Erroneous Zones, which sold like, I don't know, 100 million copies. And that led to his first book to 40 books. And so I just started studying this guy. Who is this Dr. Wayne guy? I just started diving into his teachings. And he became the impetus for the book, his teaching. Then when he passed away, 2015, August 30th, I was like, man, I never got to meet him. Never went to any of his seminars. I just studied his books and his teachings and watched his talks and just how he relates to people. And he said August 30th, that's when he had this kind of his satorium, which was like his flesh, because he was an academic. He was a therapist, a family relationship therapist. And he realized that now his purpose is bigger than this. So it was kind of his flash of enlightenment, his act of kindness, act of forgiveness, and that kindness spread out to the world. You know, he's changed millions of people's life. Well, and it was June 8th, 1972, where Abraham Maslow, who you've heard of Abraham Maslow and Maslow's hierarchy of
need. Yeah.
He is the father of self-actualization, they say. They call him the father of self-actualization.
Yeah.
Well, June 8th, 1972, he had been his teacher. He passed away. Maslow passed away. At the exact same time, Maslow was walking, you know, Abraham Maslow was dying in the hotel bed, or in the bed in his hotel, in his hospital room. Dr. Wayne was walking across the stage, getting his diploma, his doctorate degree. Exact same time. And he said he always felt like when he found out that his death had coincided with his receiving his diploma, he felt like Abraham Maslow passed the baton on to Dr. Wayne and said, hey, I taught the academic community, you now teach the cab drivers, the hairdressers, and the moms about self-actualization. Well, on August 30th, 2015, Dr. Wayne passed away, and I felt like he passed the baton on to me.
That's amazing.
And
wow.
That's what this has all been about, just running with this self-actualized spiritual teaching that everybody can do. And there's no reason to live in fear and worry and stress any longer. It's just a thought form.
Yeah.
It's an erroneous thought, as Dr. Wayne taught.
That's beautiful. I love that story. So, okay, Colm Holland, who has been on Guided as well. So okay, so Billy and I were talking about how there's just this beautiful like tapestry of just synchronicities with everybody. So we talked about how Stephen McGee, you know, connected us. Well, here's another cool connection with Wayne Dyer. So Colm Holland published The Alchemist, okay, the international bestseller of The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho's book. Well, I know that book is just amazing. So Colm wrote later, he wrote the companion version, The Secret of the Alchemist, and told about how, you know, Paulo Coelho was very instrumental in his life, changed his life, talked about his own alchemical journey in life, going through his own shadow work, all of that. Well, Wayne Dyer actually had called him and said, how are you going to, I know you're going to help me with my book and do the same that you did with Paulo Coelho's book. So, I mean, he had all of like the spiritual powerhouses call and talk to him because he was just so influential in the publishing world. So, I mean, from Marianne Williamson to Wayne Dyer to, you know, all the biggies, you know, so we'll have to connect you two.
Oh my gosh, I would love that, because The Alchemist is literally one of my favorite top 3 books of all time.
Same.
Do you know it's the 5th most published book in existence? 5th.
I know.
Like there's the Bible, the Tao Te Ching, like it's the 5th most published book of all. Isn't that crazy to think? That's a story. I mean, that book is, I reference it in my book because that alchemy, the story of that whole journey that he goes on, it just changed my life. And you put yourself in that journey. And you realize you can walk that same step. You can walk that same journey with him in your current life. And
absolutely.
You can change your life. You can transmute your life from base metal to gold. You can be the alchemist in your own life. Because at the end of the book, I don't want to give it away, but you know, the treasure was right there all along.
I know.
It was a journey without the distance.
It is just such a beautiful story. And then Colm's book is amazing, you know. Colm Holland is just an amazing person, beautiful person. And then his book, you know, The Secret of the Alchemist, and how it really impacted his life.
I'll pick that book up. I've never read it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then that's so neat that you reference that in
Oh my
your
gosh,
book.
that book changed my life, just like a lot of books that are
Yeah,
so
same.
powerful, have such a, it's like the book. I mean, I think all divine works are channeled. When people say people, they're channels, obviously, people that can connect to the divine consciousness, like Esther Hicks can bring
Yeah.
Abraham in.
Yes.
There are channels, they're real channels, but I believe the divine spiritual works that, because like I would say, I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree in anything. And my wife was here and I didn't finish the story. And this computer that I'm looking at, there was an email that came out from Hay House. And Hay House was the publisher of Dr. Wayne. Reed Tracy was his best friend. He was the CEO of Hay House. Louise Hay, real quick sidebar. He died August 30th, the same day as Dr. Wayne died.
Well, are you serious? I did not realize that.
Yes, August 30th.
Oh gosh.
He died 2015. I think she died 2018.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost like
are lucky.
He's just and I think she passed. I don't know how she passed, but I imagine in my thoughts that, you know, she was in her sleep and Dr. Wayne just had the bus come by and says, "Hey, get on. Like, this is a great day to go up.
Seriously.
This is the day." You know, the same day. I mean, there's synchronicity. There's divine alignment, synchronicity, because he walked on a different level. He just was about service, and he wanted to awaken people to the power of their thoughts and the power of their mind and the power of their awareness. And I just feel like I'm picking that baton up. I'm just so inspired, and I feel him around me all the time. He comes to me in the form of a monarch butterfly. I'm getting chills right now just because he's here. He's here right now with me. He's here right now. I feel the chills because he comes to me in the form of a monarch butterfly. And in my book, there's lots of, the 17th chapter is the journey journal, which are a series of synchronicities that have happened in my life that prove that the divine power is with you, that there's manifestation of divine things that happen in your life. And monarch butterflies, if you read his book, Inspiration, Your Ultimate Calling, I think it's his 17th chapter that talks about the story of Jack, who was a pastor in Detroit. And he loved monarch butterflies and that whole story. And so now that he's coming to me in monarch butterflies, and when you look at a monarch butterfly, they look like angels, right? They have this body in the middle, with this huge wings. They're gorgeous. They have this just angelic presence, and they're very shy, you know, but what happens?
They're all in California.
Oh my gosh. They'll come to me. They'll fly. It'll just, it only happens when I'm thinking about it. I'll be thinking about him, and I'll be thinking about a teaching or how to serve somebody. And then it'll just float next to me, and out of the blue. I won't see one all day. And also, it's always when I have the thought, and I know it's him. I know it's him just saying, "Yes, Billy, you're on the right path. Yes, I'm here to guide you." And I love A Course in Miracles. He talked about Marion.
Yes.
He talked about Helen Schuckman, who channeled another channel, obviously the Course in Miracles from Jesus.
Yep.
And Jesus says, and Helen Schuckman says, whoever you think authored it, if you knew who walked beside you on this journey you have chosen, you would never experience fear or doubt again.
I know.
And
it's so true.
Isn't it? Why do we fear? Why do we doubt? Why do we worry?
I know.
Guided. We are guided to
yes.
plug your show. We are guided. We're all guided. There's no need to live in this worry, fear, anxiety, stress, because if you literally could open up your awareness and get free of your mind thinking about all these monkey mind thoughts, swinging from branch to branch about what you got to do in the kids and your job and your relationships. So just no. Just breathe and get in the moment and let your awareness guide you, and know that when you get to that moment, just like Dr. Wayne just showed up and my arms just got full. Like he just wanted me to know that, hey, this is right. I am that monarch butterfly. If you just, he called them spiritual breadcrumbs. I continued on with that vernacular from him in my book. Spiritual breadcrumbs, follow the spiritual breadcrumbs, you know, which are the synchronicities, these signs that show up in your life, like the monarch butterfly. You probably have signs and synchronicities that show up in your life, Jodi.
Well, it's so funny that you say this, because I'm like getting teary-eyed as you're like sharing these things, because well, the butterfly is one of my spirit guides as well. Mm-hmm. And it just reminds me of this really beautiful experience I had. I was going through, oh gosh, a very rough custody battle years ago. I mean, my daughter's in college right now. She's a junior in college, and I'm so glad that's over. But at the time, it was so stressful. And I just remember I was getting ready to go to court, and I just remember just like saying this prayer and just like, please, you know, give me some guidance and some peace and ease. And after I was done saying that prayer, this beautiful monarch butterfly came and literally landed on my head for 3 seconds and then just took off from my head. Gosh. Like it went like this, boop, and then flew off. And I was like, and then I just watched it flutter away. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was a total sign from the heavens and from my spirit guide that everything's going to be okay.
That's it.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you.
And you did something really smart, Jodi. You did something really smart. I think this is what people miss a lot of times is it happens. And in that moment, when you're out of time and you let yourself surrender to like this amazing epiphany, this miraculous thing that's happened. And in that moment, you're acting like God. You're acting like divine mind, which doesn't question or doubt, or it just instantly your intuition tells you, oh, that was a guide. That was an angelic sign. And if people would just learn to surrender into those signs and whatever the first thing that comes to your mind is the answer. Like they always say, praying to God on your knees and just praying that something happens is, you're offering that prayer up to God, but your intuition and your gut is God answering those prayers.
Oh yeah. And like we were raised, Billy, I mean, they talk about how the first intimations of the spirit, that's the answer.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's the answer.
When you meet somebody, I mean, I'm a real estate professional, and sometimes, my intuition is always leading everything I do in my life. My family, I'm a musician, an artist, a speaker, all the stuff I do, golfer, everything I love to do. I let the intuition. So when I have a client that might want to hire me, or I might want to work with them, or a tenant I want to place one of my properties, if 50% of me is looking at the empirical evidence of them and the other 50% says, oh, it's just something not right, I will go with that. And my clients love to trust me enough. And that's so what served me just in life. People miss that intuition and they're afraid because they doubt themselves. And Shakespeare says our doubts are our traitors that make us lose the good we oft might win only if we believed. So you have to, Shakespeare, brilliant Shakespeare, right? Our doubts are our traitors. Don't be that traitor. Don't allow that traitor to enter your awareness in your life, because that intuition is with your imagination, one of those great gifts God has given you to get it.
So true. So true.
Open up to the beauty and the things that are coming in your life that you keep blocking them. People self-sabotage them because they're running their old patterns we talked about earlier. They're running that childhood trauma or the past relationship trauma or the deal that didn't come together or the failed business or the familial accidents or physical ailments that happen. They live in that past. And then what happens, that dead energy kind of tries to get itself into the present, but there's no synchronicity and there's no synergy in that. This emotion of your present moment awareness coupled with your intuition, and you're allowing just things to be and to let go. I mean, the Beatles had it right. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll show you this picture behind me. I don't know if you can see it very well.
Oh, beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? So that's
Jesus, right?
Behind, So he is one of my primary guides. And
Amen,
so I was doing some work with Colum Holland. And he said, I've never seen, out of all the clients I've worked with, all the people I've worked with, he said, I've never seen Jesus around somebody so much. He said, I actually had to ask him, like, I'm getting a little worried. Are you helping Jodi get ready to transition or something? and he said, no, I just need to be around her at this time. And I just need to be around her right now.
Wow.
And I said, and it's okay if he is, I'm not afraid to die, and I said, but he is around me a lot. I see him a lot.
How do you feel and see him, Jodi?
A lot is through my third eye, but one of the experiences that I had about 3 months ago when I really, really noticed it is I had an MRI. They were checking. I have 2 brain tumors on my pituitary gland. So they were just monitoring them and checking. And he came to me, and this deals with relationships too. It's really interesting. So he came to me and he said, you've done well, but I can't take you home yet because you need help in the area of love and relationships. And I was like, okay. And he said, but I will help you. And I said, okay. After that, he was always around me. And I was just like, wow. Well, 2 days after that experience with the whole MRI and seeing him, I walked into, and you're probably familiar with this, Deseret bookstore. It was like it was a church bookstore, one of the church bookstores. And I saw this picture and I was like, oh my gosh. And it was exactly what he looks like when he came to me. And I was like, I have to get that picture. So I've had
in the white shroud in the hood, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly like that.
There's a synchronicity if I've ever heard of a synchronicity.
I know. And so every time he's around me, he like looks like that. So,
if I had a choice of a guide, that would be my number one.
Yeah.
I know Jesus is with us all, but like to actively be aware of the presence and to see Jesus. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
There's the King of Kings, right? The King of Kings.
Right. And so like, it's just so phenomenal that all these synchronicities with relationship, you know, and then having you as a guest as well. And the dream last night. I mean, that
was last night. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gives me chills just because I'm so thankful that Jesus chooses people and synchronicity places them, because like they said, when the student's ready, the teachers will be revealed. So you are ready. I'm blessed to be a teacher to you. I'm blessed to be a help to you, however I be of service to you, because relationships is one of the things I've really been able to help people with. Because in my book, the chapter is called The Relationship Sink Sail, right?
Yes.
We're all in this boat together. And how do you navigate this? How do you get through it? Are you sinking your ship? Are you so caught up and your sails are always pointed in the wrong direction because you don't have there's so many analogies and little plays on words we could use, but most people don't have the awareness. They have such duality and like, it's just me and my ship and you and your ship. And we're not really going to be in the same, we're not going to get together. It's the ego, really. It's the ego. And I love Dr. Wayne. Ego to Dr. Wayne was EGO, edging God out, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
That's Dr. Wayne.
I love that.
Edging God out with your ego. So no, my wife and I have been married 26 years. And so I don't, and in my book, I'll give you the best relationship advice. I interviewed 100 couples from my book. And I didn't interview them knowing I was going to write this book. I just wanted to work on my marriage, because marriages are very tough. And you probably, anybody listening to this, watch this, relationships, not just marriages, but relationships are difficult because we have those two people in their separate dinghies, right? And never the two shall meet because our egos get in the way. But there's a oneness. Obviously, NOW spelled backwards is one. And when you're in the now, you've won. But it's also a homonym, ONE, one. One infinite source, one divine God, right? The Alpha and the Omega, the 11, right? The Alpha and the Omega, that's one.
Yes!
One. My synchronicity number is 1111.
Me too. Me too. 7 and 11 have always followed me as well. My life path number is 7. And then 11 is my other number that I always see. Yeah.
Right. And that oneness is truly what takes you out of your, that gets you back into relationship, out of the separation. Well, I was, I'm a musician as well as other things, but I'm a musician. I was DJing for this charity event here in Santa Barbara called CALM, which stands for Child Abuse Listening and Mediation. So it's this beautiful organization. It's been in Santa Barbara for 40 years. And Cecilia, at the time, it was her final year. And they asked me to DJ this big charity event, raising money. I got my wife and I were sat next to her, and she and her husband, they've been married 40 years. And if someone's been married 20 years or more, I ask them the question, what's the secret to your marriage? 20 years. So I've got 100 different answers, but she gave me the answer that I wrote in my book. And the answer is the one that I have applied to my life and to all my relationships. And it's the one thing I feel that has kept my wife and I madly in love, soulmates forever, 26 years. October 8th, we celebrate our 26th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
And I love her more, and all this stuff we went through, the challenges, the struggles, the almost breaking up, to being in this state, I attribute to this one thing that Cecilia told me probably 5 years ago. And it seems simple. It's like you just miss it if you don't pay attention to it. She said, Billy, we don't keep score.
Like the ledger, no ledger relationship.
Don't keep score. If he goes grocery shopping, he doesn't expect me to unload the groceries. If he loads the dishwasher, he doesn't expect me to unload the dishwasher. Always find ways to be of service to the other person. And don't ask for thank you. Don't ask for, just don't keep score. No abacus, no quid pro quo, none of this for that. Don't keep score. Just always find a way to be of service to the other person. And that what happens, the law of attraction initiates, right? It initiates where the other person wants to serve you because you're serving them. And that beautiful yin-yang symbiotic relationship keeps your marriage fluid through the challenges, through the trials, because you're always coming of how can I serve, not what's in it for me. You're acting like God. You know, and Hafiz, I just love Hafiz, the great Persian poet. He says, just look at the sun. The sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Just imagine what a love like that can do. It lights up the whole sky.
I love that.
That's where I
love that.
In relationship. And that's how you transform your relationships. Once you've got a good one, especially.
That is such beautiful advice. And going back to what you kind of featured and noted about the synchronicity is last night, I did listen to that podcast before my dream. And it just like was just this whole synchronistic thing that happened. That's
the teacher, right? Luckily you've got Jesus. Jesus is the master of message, right? But how beautiful, Jodi, that you are in alignment with it and you don't doubt it. You don't fear it. You don't think the unknown is this thing to scare. The unknown is where the growth is. People are so scared of the unknown. You know, the unknown is where the growth is. You have to step into that unknown. And you know, okay, you have this priming experience, right? You listen to the podcast, you have this dream, the picture, you're guided. As it says in A Course in Miracles, if you do walk beside me, right? On this journey you have chosen, you would never experience fear or doubt again. That rings in my head all the time, which Jesus said.
Yes.
Through Helen Schuckman in A Course in Miracles.
I love it. And then also in that podcast, you talk about this beautiful, almost like prayer, but it's from the Hawaiian, is it like teacher? Yes.
Ho'oponopono. Oh my God.
Okay, yeah.
Can I speak for a minute about Ho'oponopono?
Yes. And I'm going to put it in the description once we like upload everything to YouTube. But I actually found a little song on YouTube if you want to kind of like sing it throughout the day or whatever. But it's, the please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. But please speak to that, Billy.
Oh my gosh, that is one of the most powerful things in my book. It's not mine. I mean, Ho'oponopono has been around for centuries. It's a Hawaiian family therapy teaching. And if you want to read about Ho'oponopono and how it kind of came into the Western world, read Dr. Joe Vitale's book, Zero Limits. And I read that book, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago. And it was one of the things that took me out of potentially divorcing my wife. It was that simple Hawaiian teaching. Those 4 prayers, which are, please forgive me, I am sorry, thank you, I love you. Those 4 words. I think, oh my gosh, they're just words. How can they be powerful? How can they change your life? How can they save your marriage? But it's mystical. It's like anything that's not from this earth, that comes from a higher source, it comes from a higher realm. So when I read his book and I started applying it, I was having some tough marital problems. But what I would do is it's called clearing. Ho'oponopono in Hawaiian means to clean or clear your energy. And when you can clear your energy, which is the fear, the worry, the resentment, the vitriol for the other person, when you can clean on them and clean on yourself, the virtue of law of attraction, the point, then you're clearing that out. So you can put your awareness on what it is you want and your attraction is clear. You can clean that energy. So let's say you had an issue with a boyfriend, and let's say your boyfriend was cheating on you and you love him and you really want to stay in the relationship, but he was acting out of his past. He was acting out of not having a mom or breakups before, and he was lashing out, but it really wasn't him. But let's say you were going to stick with it and you're in bed, Jodi, and you're imagining this is happening. He's at a club and he's dancing and there's a girl, but you are at home at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're saying, please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. I love you. You think, why would you say that? He's the one out there. It's not me. Why would I be clear on him? He's the wrong. But that's the problem with people's egos, with their personalities, with the false self, right? The Indian traditions calls that your false self, your ego. But you have to come from a higher perspective of who you really are, which is a part of God, the spark of God. The anchor of the universe is within you. So when you can come from that place, please forgive me, I am sorry. And you start cleaning on that guy, your boyfriend. You clean on him and you stay consistent, because maybe this happens for a couple of weeks or a month, but every night at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's Friday night and he's out and you keep cleaning. All of a sudden what happens is he wakes up and he thinks, what am I doing here? Jodi's at home. Like, what am I doing? I love her. What am I doing? And he changes, and you didn't have to do anything to physically say, get back home. What are you doing? You're out of control. Like, do you really want this relationship? That's the magic of Ho'oponopono. When you clean your energy, your point of attraction changes. But the beautiful thing is then you start to clean on yourself. You clean on the anger for him. You clean on the worry, the fear, the anxiety, the doubt. So you put your hand on your heart and say, please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. And you just loop it. And the most amazing thing is you start to feel clear. Your energy, your point of attraction starts to clean and clear. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? You have this perfect symbiotic energy source, this torus field, you know, this toroidal field that happens like it is on the earth, like it is when you cut open an apple. And then these fields just merge and they become one. And then there's—
it's miraculous.
And that's what saved my marriage.
Wow.
It was the Ho'oponopono. And I give this advice to many couples that I work with, to individuals I work with. But mostly I teach people now to clean on themselves, not the other person. Because your point of attraction, if it's clear, and use the power, which I think is the greatest gift God has given us, the power of our imagination, clear that energy and then put your awareness and your powers of intention on what it is you want to bring into your life, then you're clean. There's no subconscious programming. There's no, stories from your childhood that are running and self-sabotaging you. You're clean. And then you put your awareness on what it is you want to bring into your life. And then that clean, clear point of attraction, just like that white garment on Jesus behind you, it's just perfect. It's perfect. And then whatever you put your like a photo screen, like when those f-stops, those black lights, whatever you put, whatever light you shine through it is going to appear, because it's just a blank canvas. And that power of your awareness. Yeah.
And what also comes to mind is, if that particular person, just if he, she, whatever relationship you're in, doesn't come back, then they'll fall away, and the point of attraction you will attract will be just right for you.
You totally got it, sister. That's the bigger, higher 3-mile view of what's going on. You learn, as Abraham Maslow said, I love this, I think about him and this simple lesson that he said about self-actualizing people. When you can detach from outcome and become independent of the good opinion of other people, you've become self-actualized.
Yeah.
So detaching from, I want that relationship to happen. I care if they think about me. I care what the Joneses think about me. I care if people think about me. Am I good looking? Do I have enough money? Is my car, get out of the opinions of other people and detach from outcomes simultaneously. That's living as a Now-Ist. That's living self-actualized. And then when you're clear, use your imagination, your life will become this abundant point of attraction in this brief time we have in our life on this earth, in this embodiment. And you'll live more like God. You become God and self-realized and God actualized. And that's what we're here for. We're here just to become more and be more like God.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to give away the story from the podcast because it's miraculous, but it's using this technique. And Billy helps this couple that, when you listen to it at first, you're like, oh no, there's no hope here. And then he totally helps them turn it around. And it's just, it's beautiful. It really is. And so I encourage you to go listen to the podcast. I encourage you to go and get the book, The Now-Ist. And I have just enjoyed this so much, Billy. I do want to touch upon one other thing, because relationships and finances, they really do have an intermingling entanglement.
I believe it's, the divorce rate is 60% among regular couples, Christian couples. It doesn't matter your denomination, your religious, your faith. It's 60% across the board. And I believe money and infidelity, those are like the top divorce reasons, right? Yeah. Money, I think, is huge, because you look at the world right now, Jodi. I mean, it's all about, in my book, I talk about being stuff sick, right? There's so much stuff. We're sick. We're stuff sick. We're competing with the Joneses. We have to have something better than the neighbors. We look at the magazine. We have to look like the magazine. We're always feeling like we don't measure up and we're not enough. But we find our identity in this stuff. So that creates the money problems, because you got, two income in California anyway. You got, husband and wife, husband, wife. They're all working for the family. There's two incomes. And who's taking care of the kids and want to take the vacation, but don't have enough time. And now everybody's home with COVID and they want to get away from it, right? Because they get caught up in the stuff and the things and acquiring these things that you think they're going to make them happy, but you'll never, ever fill that hole in your heart with that stuff. It won't happen. You have to find that higher self, which was what we're talking about right here. That part of you that's divine, that's timeless, deathless, that lives in that crossification. When you can get in that present moment awareness, when you're in the now, you've truly won who you are, because you're acting like God. You're acting like the source. You're acting like the divine awareness that we all come from, that we return to. And when you spend your time focused on that, which when you realize there is no time, because in the now, there is no time. That's why 90% of my day, I live as a Now-Ist. I live in present moment awareness. I live and breathe what I teach. 10% is doing videos, emails, work, escrows, leases, playing golf, and doing the other stuff that I do, like in meeting appointments and clients. But the 90% of my day, I live that way. So living in that ratio takes you out of being stuff sick, out of being identified with things, and detaching from people's opinions of you and detaching from outcomes. Becoming self-actualized is when you become that way, the ironic thing is you get all the stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that you're seeking for, you have to be like water. How do you experience water? The Tao Te Ching speaks so brilliantly about water. You can't grasp water, it eludes you.
Yeah.
You have to immerse yourself in the ocean, move with the water, and then you experience that great abundance, that great source, because you're one with it. There's no separation. There's no duality, just oneness.
Right. That's so cool. I love that. So speaking of real estate though, I'm actually getting my license here in Utah.
Yeah. It's a great profession. I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah. And then I'll probably be doing it in California as well. So it's just a fun little thing, as well as, you know, just doing what we do spiritually too. So it's just fun.
I speak in my book about many times I've sold properties, placed tenants through using my Now-Ist prowess, using literally the ability that I've learned to detach from outcome and to think from the end, not setting goals, not selling the goal to sell the house, but to learn to move the tenant, move the buyer in every night before I go to sleep. When I wake up, it's done. It's Christmas. There's a story I tell about Christmas and how I've sold many properties and placed tenants in properties where just using my imagination and the levels of my higher awareness of getting out of linear time and living in that vertical, that I've brought in buyers, sellers, listing agents. It's just been incredible. But it can be taught.
That's awesome.
I call it becoming a real estate agent.
That's
and this seminar, I gave this talk around the world called Now Become a Real Estate Agent. I gave it to real estate offices in Italy, New York, Miami, Utah. I was at Park City.
Park City's great. Yeah.
I'm with England Volker, so we're a global company. So when my book came out, they kind of globbed onto me and says, hey, we're in 33 countries. We can get you out there to give this message, which really helped kickstart the book and kickstart this now become a real estate agent idea of being a real estate agent. Doesn't mean you sell property. I mean, a mom, a teacher, a doctor, a dentist, anybody could be a real estate agent. It's just learning to live in that state that is the now, and out of time and out of doing and out of becoming, just being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, whatever you're passionate about, you can infuse in so many areas. It's just beautiful. And like we've talked about, you're guided, and living in the now helps you do that even more so. So this has been beautiful. Yes.
Thank you, sister. It's been, I'm so blessed to be of service to your audience and talk to you and to meet you finally. And
yes,
I'm here to be of service to people. So it's billymandarino.com.
Thank you.
If you go to the first page of my website, there's a free challenge. There's a 5-day challenge. I teach you how to manifest this magnetic vision for your life. It's a free 5-day challenge. Click on it. It's easy. Just put your name and email address in. Also, I have my very first live seminar, the Now-Ist Experience Live, May 7th and 8th, 2021, here in Santa Barbara at the Marmonte Hotel. Click on the event page in billymandarino.com. Tickets are on sale now. I only have 60 spots. It's a small venue, but it's going to be amazing. My band is going to play. My band's name is Present Tense.
I love it.
It's going to be a phenomenal event. I'm just so inspired. So I'm creating it right now in the studio, recording, getting everything together, the programs, the journals. I created the journey journals for people. It's going to be so fun. 2 days here in Santa Barbara.
That is so 7th and 8th, you said?
May 7th and 8th. Go to billymandarino.com, click on the event page. Tickets are there. It's gorgeous. I got a great hotel rate for everybody. It's right. It's literally on the ocean. We live across. Where we live is next door to this hotel. It's
how fun.
So there's the Italian Riviera, the French Riviera, then there's the American Riviera, which is what Santa Barbara is called, the American Riviera. So come have a vacation for the weekend, spend 2 days with me, and get your Now-Ist on.
I mean, can you ask for more, people? Come on now. Santa Barbara is gorgeous, by the way. And so Billy in Santa Barbara, you can't ask for more here.
Oh, God bless you, sister. I'm excited to be of service. And you know what happens when you get this collective energy of people? You know what it's like when you're in a room with people.
Oh, yes.
You shift the planet. David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins, he wrote this book called Power versus Force. Did you ever read it? Oh my gosh, remember?
I've listened to it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. But when you get a collective energy of people, you know, you can offset the level of people living at lower levels, you know, millions of people. Just by the 60 to 100 people we have in that room, you can offset the people living at lower levels of energy. And the 100,000 people live in Santa Barbara, you can literally correct that for those 2 days. That there's such power in numbers. But energetically,
so
power energetically, because we're all one. We all come from the same God. We all return to the same source. I mean, I know we got to go, but to Exodus, when you think about the name of God in Exodus, the only place God's name is ever said, and God says his name to Moses is, I am that I am. I will go by no other name. That will be my name for all generations. So how do people use their I ams? I am sick. I am tired. I am poor. I am lonely. I am, you know, right? I am is the name of God. So learning the power of I am. That's another thing I love to teach, is talking about the I am presence, how you can control that, how you can nourish that and live in that throughout your day. But it can be taught. It's repetition is the mother of skill. The more you do anything, you become, and then you want to program your subconscious mind. That's why constantly doing these Now-Ist teachings, it gives you the spiritual immunity. That's why COVID, I'm so fortunate that it hasn't affected my physical body, my spiritual body, because I've built up the spiritual immunity by living in this way. Because then when your spirit is strong, your physical body is strong. Yeah. Because it's all one, it's all connected.
And I honestly, in my opinion, this time and this reset has been such a blessing. It's been such a blessing to just be, you know, and like you said, to just kind of refocus the I am presence. I am powerful, you know, I am being, you know, all of that. It's just beautiful.
Words have so much power. And that word being probably the greatest two words ever uttered in human existence. I am the name of God. It's just, there's so much. I just love it. I'll be doing it forever. I love this teaching. I love serving people. I just love teaching people how to get out of stress, how to live their life into their highest self, into the part of them. Because like I said earlier, we're all in ascended master training. We all have to ascend to the highest self that we possibly could be, and to live in that realm always.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Guided. And everyone, thank you for joining us. So Billy Mandarino, the Now-Ist, and me, your host, Jodi Reynosa, your soul growth champion. And I hope that you feel like we've helped you navigate your divine journey today. And go ahead, I invite you again to hit that subscribe button and the bell at the top right, so that you can get the latest and greatest interviews like this one. And feel free to pass it on to those that you feel this will resonate with. And I know that's going to be a lot of people. So thank you so much again, Billy. And thank you, everyone. And have a fabulous rest of your day, wherever you are in the world.
I love your show. I thank you so much. God bless you. Peace be with you.
You too. Thank you. Mwah.
Bye-bye.